This is the Water Quality Association podcast, promoting the betterment of water quality around the world. And hello, I'm your host, Wes Bleed.
And my other background story of WQA is I have a vague recollection when I was a little kid of going to Chicago and staying in a hotel when WQA got formed.
That's WQA dealer member C.R. Hall with his reflections on a life within the water treatment industry. And welcome to the weekly podcast from the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment community. Find us at WQA.org. If you're a first-time listener or viewer, welcome. We're glad you're here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show. We call that the magic of podcasting, and be sure to share the podcast with someone on your team. We also feature our podcasts on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/@WaterQualityAssociation videos. In this podcast, we feature an informative and entertaining conversation with Culligan dealer and past WQA President C.R. Hall. C.R. shares his journey from growing up in the water treatment industry through expanding into the coffee industry. He discusses the challenges of scaling operations, the importance of customer satisfaction, and the lessons learned along the way. He emphasizes the significance of leadership, the value of education and training, and the joy of seeing his team grow and succeed. Plus, we'll have our WQA tip. It's all coming up on the Water Quality Association podcast. We're joined by C.R. Hall, owner of Hall's Culligan Water and Prairie Fire Coffee Roasters based in Wichita, Kansas. And C.R. is a former WQA board member, former WQA president. And Hall's Culligan has multiple locations across several states, from California to Ohio. And we are so pleased, C.R., to have you join us. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, I appreciate it, Wes. Good talking to you.
Well, let's talk about your background and your joining the water treatment business, and to get into how you started, and then we'll get into the coffee and all of that and the multiple locations. But first of all, where and how did it all start for you?
Okay, that's a great question. My dad bought his first Culligan dealership on the day I was born, 1966. He made the deal and closed on it right after I was born. So when people say they grew up in this business, I literally grew up in this business. So my dad was a WQA president in the 80s, was the chair or president of WQA. And so he really introduced me to the system. And unfortunately, he died in 1991 when I was 24 years old. And so he introduced me to it, but I went to one convention with him, I think. It was it before he got sick and died. But that was my original background, is being around the WQA. And my other background story of WQA is I have a vague recollection when I was a little kid of going to Chicago and staying in a hotel when WQA got formed. Because when they put the manufacturers and the dealers together in the mid-'70s, my dad went to that meeting, and I had three brothers and sisters, and we all stayed in a hotel and were there when that all came together. And the only reason I remember it is because when Nixon resigned. It was at the same time.
Yeah, 1974.
Exactly.
And we just passed our 50-year anniversary of the Water Quality Association's existence. So,
yes.
Wow. What a history.
I was there, whatever that means. Yes.
Yeah. What about your transition then? Your father passes away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then you start the transition. What happened?
Right. So basically what happened was I was working in Wichita. I'd never been to Kansas before when I took this job, and I was the manager of our dealership in Wichita. And I bought the Culligan dealership from my dad's estate in 1992. I bought the Culligan Wichita shop and then started buying other ones and growing from there. Was my background. My mom and dad had been partners with several other people in other dealerships around the country, and I I helped my mom sell all those, and then started buying bought Wichita, and then started buying other ones myself.
And how did you become familiar with the whole industry and water treatment in general, and what the businesses were all about?
Well, it's interesting that I worked there from the time I was a little kid. We had 4 employees in this little town in Iowa, and so I was there helping out, doing all the stuff. I regenerated tanks, I dumped ashtrays, I painted tanks, I did everything. I was the custodian, went down 3 or 4 days a week and dumped ashtrays and threw out the trash for $10 a week when I was a little kid, and I regenerated PE tanks in high school and junior high. At night, I carried a test kit and did sales training from the time I was 16, service and deliveries, went back in the summers from college and did all those jobs, just like lots of people that are involved in this business. I did all those tasks, and all the way through till when I was a kid, because I had to. I was the cheapest help they had, and I couldn't quit.
Did you have a moment where you said, you know what, I think this is it. This is what I feel called to do?
I had the opposite moment, actually. The exact opposite moment. I was in college, and my dad and mom show up for a Hawkeye football game because I was at the University of Iowa. And I remember this very clearly. It was a fall Sunday morning after a game, and they took me to breakfast on their way out of town and said, well, the manager in Wichita quit, and we need you to move to Wichita. My dad said this. My mom sat there fuming, I found out later, because she was pissed that he was even asking me.
Oh.
And so I said, nah, I don't think I want to do that. I got no interest in being in this business. I got no interest in moving to Kansas. I don't know anybody in Kansas. I got to finish college, and I've got this other plan in mind that I'm going to go sell something for somebody and figure out what I'm going to do with my accounting and economics degree and go do something else, because this isn't for me. And I finally agreed to do that under duress, honestly. And my mom later told me she was really mad at my dad for even asking and pushing at me to do this, because I left school with one semester early, and I still haven't finished, even though I promised my mother I would graduate. I never did. So,
hey, it's not too late.
Well, I know it's not too late, but the bummer is she passed away too. So now I don't even have her nagging me about it. So it's and so that was my exact opposite point of view of your point, that I said, I'm not doing this. And then I started doing it and figured out that I could be helpful, and I liked the people I worked with, and it was fun having my hands in the middle of this, and it was something I needed to do.
Right. So let's go back to this issue of expansion, buying up the companies, figuring out that you could handle more than one at a time. How did that form, and what challenges were there that you overcame in order to make that happen, to scale your operation?
So it was interesting that a big moment in my career showed up when a guy that I knew showed up in my office and wanted some water after I'd been in Wichita 2 or 3 years and was running the Culligan shop in Wichita. I owned it, and he showed up, and he was running 100 Pizza Huts, and this was a moment in my career that was I reset how high up could be in my life after talking to him. His name's Bob Geist, and he invited me and showed me how he was running 100 Pizza Huts, because he said, maybe there's a way you can scale this thing. And so I learned a lot from him about how you could measure enough things and manage people and have those kind of things to where you could at least have some insight into getting your arms around it. Because before that, I had no fathoming of how to do it. And so Bob was a huge integral part of that light bulb going off in my head that it could possibly work. And then it went from there. And now we have, 50 franchises probably around the country.
Amazing. And was there something like, you said he taught you and you were able to learn and you were able to get the new vision? Was, one or two things that clicked, or were there?
Yeah, it was interesting. He had what he called key numbers or drivers, and 3 or 4 things in a restaurant business that are integral to making it work, right? You got to make sure your labor's under control. You had to know what your revenue was. You had to make sure your food costs were under control. Those kind of things all turned lights on, that you didn't measure everything. You just picked the key things that were the most important that you looked at regularly. And so from that learning, we started being able to think about what was most important and what drove the business.
And I also understand you emphasize the goal of a happy Culligan customer. How have you focused on that and instilled that in your philosophy throughout the organization and the multiple franchises or locations? We
can do better with that. Obviously, everybody disappoints customers, but we work hard on it, and we want to make sure that every word in that gets remembered. Happy Culligan customer, and happy is important. And Culligan means that they're happy with us, and that their customer means they're spending money with us or buying things from us or taking our services, not just getting advice from us and not doing anything with it. So we work on every one of those words in that little sentence when in our interactions with customers, that they're happy, that they stay with us, and that they use us, not just that there's something in it for us too. A little mercenary, but true.
Well, of course, it doesn't work otherwise, right?
Right. At least for us. It doesn't. Yeah, it might for them, but not for us.
So what are some unique practices that you instilled to make that happen, if any?
Well, I don't know if any of them are unique, but they are important to us, to where we make sure that we think through that piece of it, that the customer has a side of this and we have a side of it, to remind ourselves of all of that.
As you think about your background and the experiences you've had and the success you've had in building the business, can you pass any of that along to a member who might be listening and maybe starting out, or perhaps somebody listening and thinking, should I get into this business? What kinds of things would you pass along to say, here's how to grow your business and here's how to scale your business?
Right. And just on the specifics of this industry, it's nice to give people a better quality of life and give people a little healthier choice and make them feel good about empowering their own choices on their own water at their own house or their own business and the benefits of that. Growing and scaling is interesting, that there's lots of diverse segments of this business, and figuring out to get in DI and to figure out to be in bottled water and point of use or BLC coolers and doing service and sales. And there's lots of diverse things. The good and the bad about this business is that we got lots and lots of customers, and all of them are small. And so you're not dependent on one hospital to be your whole business, or one restaurant chain, or one homeowner, or one apartment complex, or whatever it is. And so being able to have lots of options for them, things we could do for them is kind of neat, actually, because just dang near anybody what I say is anybody who uses water and wants it to be any better is a prospect for us, right? Even if they're washing something or cleaning their windows, we got something for them.
Right. And then you expanded your vision to coffee. So tell us about your coffee business and how that got going. And did you buy a coffee business, or did you just start one? How did that all work?
Both, actually. So we were looking around for things to diversify us that were adjacent to what we were doing, that kind of thought about that were short lead time on sales, that took care of a lot of the same customers that we would have, that did delivery and added customer service and added value and were local. And so we looked at lots of things, and the coffee piece of it is an interesting one because lots of the customers are the same as our bottled water customers. Lots of them are good candidates for filtration. Some of them are even convenience stores and restaurants, which we also have, are good candidates for softeners and spot-free rinse if they have car washes, all those kind of things. So there was some overlap in customers. The big mistake I made in the coffee business that I thankfully learned before we got too big was that I thought the one thing I did find was that correct is that it's counter seasonal. Right now it's January, so we're selling more coffee. This is the high season for coffee and the low season for water. So that's kind of nice, right? A little bit that the inventories are down a little bit in one or the other. The receivables are down a little bit in one or the other. The amount of fire drills, because it's so busy, are down in different seasons. But the giant mistake that I made, that I see lots of people in our industry make, is thinking that the customer, or thinking that we could serve both types of deliveries with the same delivery person and vehicles. So a bottled water truck has two basic products in it: 5-gallon water and cups. And my coffee delivery has 100 plus SKUs in the truck. And so I thought, well, good, we're driving by, or we're already going there, and we can take care of them. And there's a few that we can, but most of them have an expectation of service with coffee that's higher than they get with water. Because the water guys or gals run in there with 42-pound bottles, drop them off, and get the ticket signed. In the coffee business, we go in and clean the brewers. We go in and check and see what they have in stock. We find out if they need soup or stir sticks or 3 kinds of sugar and 4 kinds of creamer and 5 brands of coffee and 3 different ways it works and 4 pieces of equipment. It's a completely different sale and a completely different service. So a box of coffee weighs 2 pounds, and we make 17 or 18 stops. And water, we're making 60 stops a day with 42-pound product. And so the person who does it, the truck setup, and the service that is expected is completely different. And luckily, I didn't ruin my coffee business before I figured out that we had to have a different delivery person, even if it's in the same building.
That is, because when I first heard about it, I thought, oh yeah, well, that's great. That's a natural fit, isn't it? I mean, you're delivering bottled water and other products. You might as well bring something else along with it. But what you're saying is you really had to make sure that they were handled separately.
Right. Of the customers that we really want, the ones that look like a law firm, that look like an accounting firm, look like a real estate office, the professional white-collar offices have an expectation in the coffee delivery business that is higher than I was able to give with my water delivery people. And Harvard would have told you that they could go run all of kinds of theoretical analysis and sit in the college room and tell you how, or consulting room, and tell you how smart it is to have one truck go to both. But the fact of the matter that we and anybody else, I think, that's gotten big in both has found out that all sounds real good till it comes time to execute, and it didn't work.
All right. So tell me about the competition, dealing with the competition. There are others out there doing what you're trying to do with coffee. How have you differentiated yourself? And customer acquisition, how do you go about finding that new customer?
In which part? I'm sorry, Wes.
Well, I'm thinking coffee primarily.
Oh, coffee. Well, the hard thing about the coffee business is this, that the coffee and water businesses are getting attacked, infiltrated, whatever you want to call it, by the people in other businesses, specifically vending. Vending business is harder than our business, and they're looking for ways to diversify. So they're showing up, competing with us harder every day, and trying to get the water business, try to get the coffee business to go with vending, or to go with uniforms, or to go with trash buckets, and all the other things that are getting delivered to offices today. And those guys are tough competition because the customer wants fewer people walking in their office. Mm-hmm. And so if they can bundle a bunch of those, we lose sometimes. Even if we got better product or better service, we lose coffee accounts, not because we're not better at it, but because we don't have a full line. And we made a conscientious decision not to get into the vending business because we didn't want to be in the fresh food business or the micro market business at this point. And so we struggle sometimes with customers that want an integrated package. So we have to partner with people that will allow us to do what we're good at, and they do what they're good at. But sometimes the canteens of the world can still ace us out because of that.
So has there been synergy with water enough in order to make all of this work for you? And what lessons from one have translated to the other and vice versa?
We're not as good at it as we should be. I think theoretically that a salesperson in our business would give leads to each other, and they do, but not enough. Because I've got separate people out there talking to people about coffee than I have about water or about point of use filtration. And I coach them on looking for leads for each other to solidify their business. And we don't do as great a job as we could, but we do pretty well. And we're out looking, especially in new offices, we're looking better than we are in existing, to where we can go in with together and talk about stuff. If the accounting firm's moving down the street, we go there together and be ready. But we could be better at it for sure. But there is lots of synergies there on trading leads.
And has anything in the coffee business helped the water business?
Yeah, I think one of the things to think about is that lots of the places where we go with coffee, they need better water than what they got, because a lot of those brewers and the equipment is plumbed in now, and the equipment's getting more expensive, and it needs filtration in front of it, and we help each other with that.
Right. How about future trends, both in coffee and in water? We want to open things up here a little bit with your crystal ball in front of you. And here we are, mid-2020s, thinking about what's ahead. And, you still have many years left in the business. What do you think?
I'm very bullish on 5-gallon bottled water. It's hard to scale, and it's expensive per delivery, but customers love it. I love it. We're glad to do it because people want it. We also see, though, that the biggest growth opportunity we have at the moment is the point of use cooler business, filtration in offices, where we take and put in nice equipment that does both ice and water, and either replaces or supplements the 5-gallon or drinking out of the tap or any of those kind of things. That's a big one for us. And in the coffee business, the equipment's getting way more elaborate, electronic, doing more interesting things, makes higher quality stuff. I can go to my break room and get something that is a lot like what you can get from a coffee shop from the push of a button. And the cost savings to any customer is so big on that versus sending somebody down the street to buy one cup at a time and spending 45 minutes to do it. Those are real. No matter how much the equipment costs or how much it is per drink, it's a fraction of what it costs to send them out.
The old coffee run.
Product. Yeah, the coffee run, exactly.
Who's making the coffee run?
and you know that's not very valuable to the customer or to the employer.
Exactly.
So, yeah, while it might be fun, it's not very valuable to the employer.
You, kind of switching gears a little bit, you took over the business at age 24, I think you said. I want you to look back and think about some of those valuable lessons you learned about things like more of the intangibles, leadership, perseverance, commitment, passion, etc. What have you learned that has really helped shape your career?
I would tell you that becoming a subject matter expert was the first real key thing that I learned, that I got my WQA certification, and I push our folks to do the same, because you gain a whole bunch of skills, and you also gain some confidence that you know what you're talking about whether it's the chemistry or whether it's the application or whether it's the real world stuff that goes into that, just to becoming a subject matter expert in whatever subject it is. That's the reason I love going to the conventions, because I learn new things, both specific about the coffee business, the water business, the bottled water business. I've been involved with all those associations, and our dealers association the same, because I learned so much at all of them. They're very worth my time, and I push our people to go to gain from that. The other thing that I really enjoy from a continuing education process is WQA does a nice job, or has done a nice job, of bringing in people that talk about general skills, like how to sell things, how to negotiate, how to do better at HR, all kinds of stuff that's not about how to take hardness out of water. It's about how to run your business better and how to be a better boss. And those things are really valuable at the conventions, especially.
Yeah, no doubt. And anything in particular that has helped you lead such a large organization?
The biggest thing for us is giving people opportunities. We struggle, the world struggles a little bit with commitment and managers and those kind of things staying. And what we really focus on is giving people opportunities to grow with us, so they feel good about it, whether that means bringing them to WQA, or we have a training center here that we train all of our new managers on how to become a new first-time manager. We work hard on getting them skills that are outside of, again, how to take hardness out of water, more about how to manage people and lead people. Because the key to our growth has been being able to export our people into new markets, into new dealerships, into new buildings, into new areas. And there are folks, and they learn and are on our team from the beginning. And that's been the biggest key to us growing, is making sure that our folks are ready to take those jobs when time comes.
You mentioned you've been involved in many organizations like the International Bottled Water Association, you've WQA, of course. Tell us about your volunteering and what that has meant to you.
You know, I spend a lot of time on those things, and it helps both from a mercenary standpoint. It helps me meet a whole bunch of people in the industry, so that when it comes time to grow, or they want to make an exit or change their decision about what they're going to do with their business, I know them well enough that they're going to call me. I also learn a lot from them every single day that I'm out there, saying somebody's got a better way to run a route, somebody's got a better way to manage people, or here's what the new products are that I see. Because I'm far enough away, as we joke now, I'm far enough away from the route truck that I don't get enough firsthand stuff. I do at the conventions, I talk to our folks, but that's a hard part of my job, is that I've got to be up out of a lot of that, even, and it bums me out because I miss out on a lot of that I really enjoy.
Right. Well, your network must be vast, as you mentioned, talking to the various people that you have over the years, the contacts you've made. And I'm wondering if in your network, do you feel that there's somebody that our listeners would benefit from hearing from?
Have you talked to Chris Layton? Have you interviewed Chris?
Not on the podcast. No.
Yeah, he would be an interesting guy. He's got 60 years in this business, and he came out of retirement. When we bought into going to California, I told Culligan I wouldn't buy the Culligan dealerships in Southern California unless I could have Chris come out of retirement and come work with me. And so now he's part-time, full-time. I'm putting air quotes around that. And he's 80 years old and was WQA president in the 90s, I think. And he's still very active in the business, and he's a great storyteller, and you'd love to talk to him.
Fantastic. Great idea. Thank you.
And he and I work together closely today still, and he helps me out in California every day.
Let me ask you this. What suggestion would you have for that person, again, who wants to grow? Any materials, reading, books you've read, anything that would be helpful that you could say, this really spoke to me, or this got me? You know, we can't all have that Pizza Hut owner come along and give us those ideas, but we can continue to learn, obviously, at the convention or other places, or things that we might read. So anything along those lines, or any other advice you might have?
I'm trying to think specific stuff like that. I don't have a manual sitting on my desk that I refer back to on that. Mine's all anecdotal, so I'm not much help there, Wes. Sorry.
It's all right. Any aphorisms or wisdom that you ascribe to?
The big thing I keep reminding myself that I got to remember that winning is fun. And to us, winning means growing, seeing people grow. That's the big one for me that gets me up in the morning, to see our folks grow and get better and get more opportunities to take care of their family and their customers. And so winning is fun. And so we got to figure out ways to win and celebrate the wins and do the good things that they are, whether that means at WQA or whether that means at the Culligan convention or wherever it is, making sales, all of it.
I want to thank you for joining us, CR. It's been a pleasure. Great insights, valuable information, I think, for anybody watching or listening. Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling me. I appreciate you doing this with me, and it's humbling, and thanks for listening.
Our WQA tip. The WQA Convention and Expo for 2025 is right around the corner. The convention takes place April 22nd through the 24th in Long Beach, California. The theme is Innovate, Break Boundaries. The WQA Convention and Expo is the most comprehensive annual gathering of water treatment professionals in North America, with 200 exhibitors, 2,500 plus attendees, and 50 plus hours of education. Go to convention.wqa.org to learn more. Thanks for joining us for the Water Quality Association podcast, bringing you the latest news and insights from the association, our members, and outside experts to help you better serve your customers and grow your business. Learn more about water and water treatment at our consumer website, betterwatertoday.org, and learn more about professional certification, product certification, and how you can become a WQA member at WQA.org. Until next time, this is Wes Bleed. So long from the Water Quality Association.